The Occupy movement is going strong worldwide. However, there is major pressure coming down on governments to deal with the protesters, sparking a debate on if they should stay or should they go. Now, here on the island, Occupy Victoria is in its second week, people camping out to protest what they call corporate greed. But how long will the city allow campers to stay? Dana Hutchings joins us now with more in tonight's Checkpoint.
Scott, there are still a number of tents up in Centennial Square. Within the city of Victoria, there's a bylaw which doesn't allow camping in public parks during the night. So far, police in the city have left the protesters alone, but in other Occupy cities such as Vancouver, it's become an issue. So what will happen here? Kristen Robinson has the latest.
12 days into Occupy Victoria, a handful of tents remain at Centennial Square, and city workers are busy cleaning up. Wednesday morning, it was foam and soap left in the fountain.
That's not for the people to go camping here. You know, it's so nice otherwise with all that. That looks horrible.
They should have set a time limit on them, 7 days or something like that. Prove their point and move on, but you can't have that down here. I don't know why they're putting up with it.
I think they've made their point. It's hard to feel like a lot of sympathy for a marginalized group that's not so marginalized.
I think it's time for the campers to go. People should have a right to express their opinion. It's a free country, and that's important, I think, for all Canadians. But you know, there's no coherent message, and it's just becoming a squatters' camp.
I think it's terrible. Yeah, and I think they should go.
What started out as a show of solidarity for New York's Occupy Wall Street protest against corporate greed and social inequality quickly saw the Victoria crowd enjoying beverages from corporate giants like Starbucks and Tim Hortons and sitting in for a variety of causes with no clear message. Still, those remaining say they're not going anywhere.
You said you're not going to leave?
No, not until it's absolutely necessary.
Why is that?
Because we have really nowhere else to go right now.
We're not leaving. A lot of tents are going to stay here. We're making a little secret splinter cell group somewhere else, but I can't really tell you where.
The campers have no permit to demonstrate in the square and are currently breaking the city's no camping bylaw by keeping tents up during the day. But Victoria's mayor has no plans to evict them.
We recognize right now that the situation is really quite fluid. We've had an opportunity to talk with 12, 14 of them, letting them know that we have community events coming forward.
In less than a month, equipment will be moved into this tent-covered area to make way for an ice skating rink the business community has planned since the summer. And days later, this tree will be lit up for Christmas.
We are certainly hopeful that those who are occupying those tents will see that what the DVBA is putting on is a community activity.
We have had a few complaints from the public about it looking unsightly and things like that, and exactly asking the questions that you're asking, when are they going to go?
There's a goal to stop corporate greed. They're going to be here for a hell of a long time.
Now, one city councillor, Philippe Lucas, is preparing to introduce a motion in support of the People's Assembly of Victoria, the group who started Occupy Victoria.
And tonight's Checkpoint question, should Occupy Victoria protesters be allowed to camp overnight or should they be removed altogether? You can get in touch with us. You can tweet us at @check_news on Facebook at facebook.com/checknews or email checkpoint@checknews.ca. Scott, south of the border, there are thousands camped out in cities across the country protesting U.S. economic policy. But in some cities, protesters seem to be wearing out their welcome.
As the thick smoke of tear gas fills the night sky, it's clear the tempers and tension surrounding the national Occupy movement are growing.
All we're trying to say is it's our right, it's freedom of speech.
But after a series of arrests over the last couple of days in Oakland, Atlanta, Albuquerque, and other cities, police say the issue isn't freedom of speech.
The decision to move was based on public health and safety due to defecation, fire hazards, sexual assault incidents, violent behavior, and the denial of access of medical aid.
But many of the protesters say seeing dozens taken away in shackles only serves to renew their dedication to the movement.
We're not going to back down. We have no reason to back down.
The only thing we have to do is just to continue to march. That's the only we can do to change things, because if we keep running away, nothing's going to happen.
Those on both sides of this emotional debate agree.
Leave now or you are subject to arrest.
A lot's been happening at protest sites across the country over the last few days.
And back to the island, should Occupy Victoria protesters be allowed to camp overnight, or should they be removed altogether? Here are some of your responses from the street.
You know, they are making a very valid point. They're saying something that needs to be said, and the publicity of them being there, I think, is very important for raising public consciousness. However, we do have to keep an orderly society.
People have the right to protest, right? And they can't do it if they're muscled away early.
I think indefinitely. I don't know if it's going to do much or anything, but no reason to send them packing either.
It's a matter of public health. I think that there probably aren't the facilities required, and they should probably move them on at some point.
Not at all. They should be. This police should have moved them out of there by now. They're on public property.
And why do you think they need to go?
Because they're just using it as an excuse to camp out.
Well, it looks pretty orderly. I think I should be allowed to stay.
I think they can stay indefinitely, and as long as they're brave enough to take the weather, then let them have their say.
And your social media responses, Jackie Ward says as long as they aren't bothering people, they should be allowed to stay. Let's not follow the Atlanta or Oakland model. Jason Gallagher says they should be removed. Their protest or movement in Victoria is not gaining momentum. They're simply costing taxpayers money at the moment and inhibiting the public enjoyment of the space. And Sharon Van Helleman says protesters should be allowed to protest during the day, but should be required to go home for night. This should not be seen as an opportunity to squat on parkland. And we should mention, of course, that the city of Victoria is not the only city on the island with an Occupy protest. Camps are still going strong in Nanaimo and Courtenay. And that's tonight's Checkpoint.